Oh my goodness, she's absolutely gorgeous. I gotta say something. Hey, excuse me? I was a, 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 never mind. Actually, I, you,
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. Timestamps are down in the description box below if you want to get directly into the Dynamite review. I want to tell you guys a story real quick. Nothing wrestling related, but this has actually been on my mind for quite a while, and I'm trying to figure out, was I in the right to do something like this, or was I in the wrong? Because I feel like, from a moral standpoint, I feel like I could have let that shit slide, and I could have just, like, turned the blind's cheek. What was it, blind's eye? You could have turned the cheek, blind's eye, whatever the saying is. And I felt really bad because Buddy was actually cool people, and I was like, damn, I feel really, really bad right now. So check it out. So, like I said, my job, right? I work at AER, which is a landing gears company, right? And for a while now, I've been seeing this car. Now, I didn't say shit because it got nothing to do with me, right? It is what it is. But I've been seeing this car here in the parking lot for like maybe about, let's say about 6 or 7 months. Around WrestleMania time, I think is when I started noticing it, right before my first vacation earlier this year. This car is parked in this parking spot, far away from the building, but still it's in the vicinity of the building, right? And it's clear as day. If you were using common sense, I could see this guy with blinders on his car, like the silver thing you put in front of your car to make sure your car doesn't get hot. He has that there. I think I walked by his car one time and I seen like a bed in the back seat. Clearly this guy's living out of his car, right? And I'm going to presume that this is the parking spot that he's sleeping in, and he's, what I can only tell, is homeless, right? So like, I already came to that conclusion. I didn't bother the guy. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't do anything to him. It's not my parking space. It's not my building. It is what it is, right? Well, we came in this morning, right? Yesterday morning, I guess now. And there's like tissue paper or like baby wipes. It looks like tissue paper or baby's wipes. And it's like all behind the dumpster. And it's right next to the guy's car. Right, he parked next to the dumpster when he did it. We could see him on the camera, but he went to go park somewhere else, right? And he got rid of most of the paper from what it looks like, but there was still enough there where it's like it's littering, right? And my manager, or my not technically my manager, but I guess it'd be like the department manager, not my manager directly, but still a manager nonetheless. So I'll just say my manager, just for the sake of the story, right? My manager went out of the way to call the police on the guy and trespass him, right? Trespassed him, told him he couldn't be here anymore. The guy left and then waited a couple of hours and came back and parked in the same parking spot. Now, mind you, now I'm the closing manager, right? Now I'm the only person there. I'm an assistant manager, but when you get there late at night and you're the only manager there, you're considered the closing manager there. And I see the car right there, and I'm saying to myself, Buddy can't see me, I can't see him, but I can see it on the camera clear as day. And I was told if he came back to call the police on him, right? And I felt so fucking torn. I did not want to be in this position, because my thing is, if I don't call the police and they show up in the morning time, the higher ups or whatever, they show up in the morning time, or even the manager that initially called the police, I don't know their schedule. He shows up in the morning time and he sees that car there, and then he calls the police. The guy's going to get arrested. They're going to go back, see the camera. They're going to see him there all night. They're going to know that I was closing that night. I'm going to probably get in trouble for that, right? And I was torn. I was saying to myself, damn, bro, I don't want to call the cops on a homeless person. But at the same time, I don't want to get in trouble. And I felt so fucking bad. I felt so bad. I ended up calling the police on the man. And it's like I couldn't even go outside and interact with him and tell him like, hey, yo, take off. Because the camera's on us the entire fucking time. I don't know what they're going to do if they run the cameras back in the morning time for whatever reason and see me interacting with this guy, making me complicit as to why he's been there the entire time. I wanted so badly to go out there and tell him, like, hey, yo, take off. Because it's like he's homeless. I know why he came back for. The dumpster's right there. It's probably safer because there's security guards and stuff like that, but he's trespassing. He ain't fucking with anybody, but he's trespassing. And I ended up calling the police, and, you know, I didn't have to go outside or anything. The police came inside. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I said no. I didn't want to get him in further trouble. But he did. He trespassed again. He violated. I think it's trespassing with warning, if I'm not mistaken, is what he told me. And he ended up arresting the guy, bro. And on top of that, they towed his car. And I was like, I feel so bad because he's homeless. Clearly he's homeless. They towed his car. And they arrested him after being trespassed with warning. And it's like, damn, bro, I didn't even have the... I wanted so badly to go out there. You got to understand, I wanted so badly to tell him to get the fuck off the premise. But I didn't want to get in camera shot because he's like right there in front of the fucking camera. His whole entire car is right there. If I even go to his car door and let him know, hey, they can see me on camera. And I ended up getting this man's car towed and got him arrested. And I know most people are probably like, well, Devontae, understand that's not your fault because blah, blah, blah. But you got to understand, Buddy was homeless. Now, I'm pretty sure he's out of jail now. His car got towed. I don't even know if Buddy got the money to go get that shit out. That shit been on my mind all day today, man. I feel so fucking bad, bro. But I was just a little quick story. I had to vent because, like, you know, told the homies that and shit like that, they gonna just be like, oh, you know, the way my friends joke around, oh, you a pussy this, don't worry about that nigga, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, damn, like, that shit is stuck in my conscience right now. That shit's really fucking with me. But just a quick story. With that being said, I'd like to know what the hell you guys would have done if you was in that position. Let's get into the Dynamite review. Goddamn, what a day. Oh, so they got Danielson on commentary now? Oh, that should be pretty unique. I actually don't mind that. I always thought Bryan Danielson came in on his own when it comes to speaking on the microphone over the past decade or so. So I actually don't mind him on commentary. I actually want to see what he would actually say and what he would actually give to commentary as time goes on. It's funny too because this match with the Dick Riders, and it looks like what Jon Moxley looks like he's about to have a match against Kyle O'Reilly or Roderick Strong, one of those two. I should actually listen to the commentary of the entrance before actually going directly into this recording. Oh, it's Roger Strong. Okay, whatever. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Nice addition. But they kicked it off with Kyle Fletcher and what's homeboy's name again? Hangman Adam Page having a contract signing. I didn't even know this show was 3 hours. God damn, that caught me off fucking guard. But I'm not too worried. I'm pretty sure the whole thing in regards to this 3 hours is going to be maybe 2 hours of Dynamite and then 1 hour of Collision. So it's like, I'm pretty sure if they actually do what I think they're going to do based off of the ending of this contract signing, then at the very least, if they give me the conclusion at the end of the 10 o'clock hour, I can just turn it off and I'll be fine and justified in doing that in my own right. Fuck your rights. But it kicked off with them talking, not really saying much that is worthy of discussing. You know, it was pretty much just Hangman jabbering on about how he wants to see the extent of how good Kyle Fletcher is, right? Essentially saying with him being by himself, having none of the members of the Don Callis family around, he apparently reiterated some premise within the contract that stated that not only will he be disqualified and not win the title if any of the Don Callis family members get involved, but also he'll be stripped of his TNT championship, which Kyle Fletcher didn't seem like he was phased at all. He retorted back with the fact that, hey, you know, you can put anything you want to put in the contract. He used the metaphor saying that he will crawl through glass if it meant to get a shot at the championship belt. And he wasn't worried. He's going to be the champion. You know, he's nothing like Hangman in 2019. He's nothing like Hangman in 2021 when he first won the championship belt. And he's better than him right now. Hangman, essentially, before he signed because Kyle Fletcher signed the contract, before Hangman can put his John Hancock on the contract, he said, whatever happens going into the future, he just doesn't want Kyle Fletcher to disappoint him. which sounded a bit like a shoot, kind of like a work shoot, essentially saying in kayfabe, he doesn't want to be disappointed as far as his character, and because he's so young, 26 years old, he doesn't want to be disappointed as far as what Kyle Fletcher would end up doing to ruin his credibility or ruin his run currently in AEW, because there's so many people who had chances to end up making it to the top and then they fell short of their expectations. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe I'm looking a little bit too deep into it, but I feel like Hangman Adam Page could be, again, working a bit of a work shoot there, if you ask me. And then they got face to face with each other, and Kyle Fletcher made it a point, which was, I guess, the important point of the entire contract signing. I thought they were going to pull a Triple H into Austin there for a second, where like Kyle Fletcher didn't really put his initials on the contract, and then he attacked them and then signed the contract. I don't know why I immediately went there. But no, Kyle Fletcher made it a point to say, hey, I made a deal, and I'm a man of my word. Nothing is going to happen between us during this contract signing. And you're right, you're not going to get your interference in your match. But that doesn't mean I can beat the shit out of you by the end of the night. He didn't say end of the night, but I'm pretty sure that's what he's alluding to when he said by the end of the night, I'm going to leave you broken. And he said bloodied, I think, also. So that at least gives me hope that something's going to happen with the world champion by the end of the night, or by the end of the second hour, I guess. Hopefully by the end of the second hour. God knows I don't want this shit going directly into the fucking third hour. God help us all, right? But, pretty substandard contract signing. There was nothing to gain out of it. I didn't really see any quality mic work as far as rhetoric is concerned, or dialogue, I guess is probably the better term to say. Felt kind of average, really, really average. I will say Hangman is a solid babyface, and the crowd, they're booing Kyle Fletcher, so that's always going to be good for me. An actual heel and an actual babyface playing their roles in the audience directly behind them, cheering them on. Now, does that help me? At least within this contract signing in particular, and what I've been seeing as far as highlights and reviewing the show these past couple of weeks, does that get me more into the match than I previously was before I watched the show? No, it doesn't. Again, this contract signing didn't do much for me in the ways of that, but it did enough to at least get me invested into what they're going to do later on tonight, and maybe that might be the part where it feels like it's justified to have this match. Because again, this is not just a big spot for a Kyle Fletcher. It's weird. I see AEW just throw guys inside this spot. There was a point in time back in the days in WWE, and I'm not talking about the Jinder Mahals in the world and stuff like that, actual fucking failures, but there was a way how they worked people into championship matches, right? Right, like, for an example, you see something like, let's say, I'll throw out a name, like, Chris Benoit, for an example, right? This is kind of a similar situation when Benoit went directly up against The Rock at Fully Loaded in 2000, and he had Shane McMahon in his corner. Very similar situation to what Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher are going through right now as far as this angle. I see a bit of, similarities and comparisons to that feud right there back in 2000. The only thing is they spent a lot of time getting Benoit over. You know what I mean? And it also helped that Benoit came from a different company as a world champion. But, he's on WWE right now, and I wish they would have done more. And maybe they might do that. Maybe they might change my mind by the end of the night by actually having a strong angle to, at the very least, get me going, okay, that's nice. Let's see what's going to happen going into the show. I just didn't get that. And with Benoit and The Rock, one, it's The Rock, so he has natural star power, which Hangman doesn't. Maybe in the, vicinity of the AEW stands, but worldwide, no, he doesn't. I would have liked to see more stronger angles going into this pay-per-view show. You might get one coming out of this show, but that's still not going to make up for the fact that you had plenty of opportunity to do more, I feel like. But if this is going to be a situation where you're testing the waters with him, okay, fine. But testing the waters also doesn't exclude you for getting him more over and making him feel like he's actually worthy to be in the ring with the world champion. I just don't get that kind of vibe from Kyle Fletcher at the moment. Maybe sometime it would. Maybe this angle tonight might do that. Maybe him actually wrestling for the world championship. But then even then, you know, I don't know. There's just so much stuff going on with how AEW typically puts on matches. I'm pretty sure they're going to go balls to the wall. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a killer match, but it's just one of those deals where it's like you have so many of these kinds of matches where they have all these false finishes and stuff like that, where that's what I mean when I says it takes away from what Kyle Fletcher and Heyman probably could have utilized to help, because obviously Kyle's not winning that match. It could have been helpful to help get Kyle Fletcher over even more. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, Austin and Orton had to start off somewhere too, right? Austin started off his first World Championship match, I think, in a Fatal 4-Way, right? He started off in a Fatal 4-Way at the Final Four back in 97. Orton had to start off in the Elimination Chamber back in 2003. I probably would have made Kyle Fletcher into like one of those kind of matches, going for the World Championship in the main event before anything else, but that's just me. And then we also had Darby Allin backstage doing a promo just to hype up his match with Jon Moxley. Nice presentation. Nice vignette. Oh, I would call it a vignette. More of a video package, I guess. Good, I guess. But I just, again, have... I just don't care to want to see the coffin match. That's just me, though, like I said. But continuing on with the show, I guess a decent opener. It breaks up the monotony that we typically get every week when it just starts off with matches. But, you know, just a very C average kind of angle. I guess you can say it that way. But we'll see as the night goes on. Well, I mean, that pretty much told me that, I mean, I don't see any other way, right? Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, they kind of have no choice but to win their match, right? God, only AEW. Now, to be fair, I will say at the very least, this time it was a big man jobbing out to another big man, but God damn, did they make them look like bitches in this segment. Now, did they, huh? Kind of working backwards, though. We had MJF going to Tony Khan's office, which was just the cringiest. Like, even when you have something pre-recorded like that, right? Like, clearly there was no office. It was just MJF going into a room and them playing some pre-recorded recording or pre-recording, whatever the fuck you want to say, of them arguing with each other. Even in the pre-recorded sense, and mind you, they control the, like, entire narrative as far as how they want this structure to go, right? Like, Tony Khan can stop Tony, they can re-record this, they can do 100 takes, they can do 1,000 takes before putting the final product out there like they did tonight, and still Tony Khan is such a terrible fucking actor. Holy shit, man. He sounded so cringe. I know why they don't put this man more often on TV than not. He's so bad. You have MJF putting his heart into this segment, cussing out Tony Khan, trying to get out of this tables and thumbtacks match or whatever the fuck they're calling it. And Tony Khan is going back and forth with MJF, and he just sounds so fucking cringe. He is just terrible. He's no Vince McMahon. Let's just keep it like that, right? But like I said, we had this match with Bobby Lashley and Toa Liona. I forget that he's Samoan, but man, like, holy fuck, he's about as Samoan as fucking Haku, right? As far as how much he actually carries himself in the ring from a non-jobber standpoint. And I'm talking about Haku, like 2001, not King Haku in the 80s, or even Ming for that matter. He just jobbed out like a little bitch. Jobbed out like a bitch. Again, I'll give some grace because at least this time it was to Bobby Lashley, the bigger star. And even though Bobby Lashley isn't bigger than Toa, he's still big enough where you can make this make sense, right? And he locked him into the Hurt Lock and Toa passed out. Mind you, before that, Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, the other guy who I don't even know his fucking name, they tried to get involved in the match and they were stopped with ease. You know, and then after the match, when Bobby Lashley made this dude pass out, Ricochet and the rest of the other dude tried to get involved and just got thoroughly embarrassed. Thoroughly fucking embarrassed. Even a cane broken over his back. Just looked like Ricochet, that is, having a cane broken over his back by MVP. They just look like bitches. Like I said, the only way I'm willing to take this is when they actually have the inevitable match. Ricochet's going to be the one to beat someone like an MVP. Because other than that, if they lose this match, they're dead in the fucking water before they even actually started this whole damn stable, right? And they've been around for like a good month or two, right? Maybe 3 months. Just, They look like bitches. They look like bitches. I'll tell you what, MVP, he ain't really he ain't really helping those allegations as far as politicking backstage. Now, if you look at what happened here, like fuck, just absolute baby bitches. But coming up next, we have FTR facing off with Edge and Christian. Hopefully this should be entertaining, and hopefully they give us some quality television, right? So we'll get to that, we'll talk about that, and we'll carry on with the rest of the night. So come on, boys, give me something good. Alright, while they're doing their goofy fucking qualifier for the ladder match bullshit, who gives a fuck about that? Let's talk about, quite frankly, what is what the fuck was that? Holy shit, boot me up, fuck, error 404. Let me try that again. While they're having their jobber ladder match, let's talk about what most likely is going to end up being the best part of this entire fucking show. This promo with Edge and Christian and FTR. I fucking loved everything about this. The history being talked about, you know, maybe a little bit too much mentioning of WWE, but I mean, really, what can you do? I mean, you got two former teams that are WWE talent that made their names in WWE, that got their formal starts in WWE, that quite frankly made a name for themselves. I said name already, didn't I? Fuck, I'm not doing so good on this segment, but bear with me for a second, alright? So, you had Edge and Christian come out. You know, I actually got finished talking about this with a friend of mine, and it didn't really dawn on me, but I'm seeing what he's saying now. This shit is getting kind of fucking annoying now. Like, the singing, I mean, Rage, if you're out there, I know we just got finished talking about this. The fucking singing of the wrestlers' theme songs, it is getting kind of annoying now. I'm not gonna lie. Whether it's Edge, whether it's Randy Orton, and, you know, I can make exceptions when it fits the gimmick, like Seth Rollins, for an example, right? It fits the gimmick. I can understand that. But goddamn, the singing of the wrestlers' entrances, I don't know, it just gets so fucking obnoxious after a goddamn while. Especially when, you know, they don't even really know the lyrics. Also, like when Edge came out here, like once they got to like the middle portion of the lyrics after the, you know, they went a cappella, some of them didn't even know the fucking words. They just started to cheer over the people who actually knew the words. I wish they would stop this shit. It's so fucking annoying. But nevertheless, though, Christian came out. You know, next FTR came out, and they came out with a bunch of security guards, which we'll get to in a minute, because that's probably like the only thing that I didn't like about the segment. A little bit of inconsistency, but nothing that was too harmful. Didn't harm the angle here, right? So you had Cash Wheeler. He started it off by talking directly, in particular, to Edge, letting him know how he got his start in the business back in 2009, and Edge, you know, he you know, well, yeah, I don't want to say he started his career, but he met Edge in 2009. Let's say that, right? Because I think that's actually what he said verbatim. He met him in a gym. He got him his start. He cracked open the door for him. All he had to do was bust down the door, and he did that. You know, he said him and Scott Dawson. What the fuck is Scott Dawson's name in this show? I'm gonna call him. I know them only from their actual former tag names. Fuck, but Scott Dawson, I'm going to call him that, fuck it, because I can't remember his goddamn AEW name. He got behind him, and he was essentially saying, yeah, like, we have been dominating for the past 10 years now. You know, we've been a team for 11 years, and we've been dominating over the decade. Naming all the teams that they went up against, even naming some of the WWE teams, you know, DIY, American Alpha, I think they said Enzo and Big Cass. They named teams like the Briscoe brothers and their trilogy, the Young Bucks, just going down the line of really, you know, objectively damn good, solid wrestling. I mean, you can easily, I mean, it's either them, the Usos, or the Briscoes, as far as, it's like a three-way as far as who you want, maybe the Young Bucks also, you know, objectively speaking, as far as who you want to say is the best tag team of the 2010s, right? And maybe even the 2020s. You know, it's either the Briscoes, it's the Bucks, it's FTR, or it's the Usos, right? Those are going to be your choices. So they damn sure had a point. And then Edge got on the microphone. He was probably my favorite part of this, because he was just spitting nothing but facts. He was like, that's good that you guys have done all this. But yeah. Welcome to the conversation of best tag teams of all time. We've been here for a quarter of a century. Welcome. Yeah, it's nice, right? I mean, you say all this, but while you were getting bass in your voice, we were revolutionizing tag team wrestling. You know, we were kind of the ones that pretty much made all you guys' influences, right? It was us, AEW, the tag team scene. You know, our matches is what influenced this entire fucking company, which is facts. Straight up fucking facts. All day facts, right? I mean, he even said that our fucking matches not only revolutionized tag team wrestling, it made a fucking pay-per-view, which is the TLC pay-per-view, obviously, right? Which is true. I don't think that ever gets talked about enough. I mean, obviously in the 80s, you know, you had the Bulldogs, you had the Hearts, you know, you have the Rock and Roll Express, you have the Rockers, the Midnight Express, Strike Force, the Legion of Doom, all these fucking amazing, just a goddamn beautiful range of tag teams. I can go on and on. The Quebecers, you know, the Brainbusters, on and on and on and on and on. Demolition, Doom, fucking who else, man? The Steiners, Harlem Heat. I can go on and on and on, right? Just fucking amazing goddamn tag teams. You haven't even seen the tag team scene since like that. It's not even fucking close. The 80s and the early 90s completely ruled when it comes to tag team wrestling. It's not even fucking close. But I will say that after, I want to say, this is just my opinion, right? Yeah, you had WCW that still had like Harlem Heat and the Steiners, for an example. But quite frankly, tag team wrestling really hasn't been the same since like 1994, before Edge and Christian. Not even the New Age Outlaws, because the New Age Outlaws didn't really have teams to go up against, right? They were pretty much the most popular tag team in wrestling. But they didn't really have much competition as far as legitimate tag teams to really go up against. Remember, they went up against a bunch of makeshift tag teams. You know, we're talking about the Rock, you know, the Rock and Sock Connection, or, you know, Kane and Mankind, or Austin and Taker and stuff. But they didn't really have any legitimate tag teams. The most they ever got was, you know, LOD, and that was only for a few months, right? And maybe you could say Jack and Funk really didn't have anybody. It took Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys to revolutionize tag team wrestling. And then they added the Dudley Boys into that mix. And it was those three teams, you know, that gave WWE a reason to want to really put more effort into their tag team wrestling. That's when you got the APA and, you know, TNA, for an example, and, you know, RTC, for an example. A lot of abbreviations, right? Too Cool and Kai and Tai and all those fucking teams, right? It was them. It was really those three teams that revolutionized tag team wrestling and made it important again. Again, it was just a great fucking back and forth. And then Christian, you know, he had to get his 2 cents in. You know, Edge said it's going to be Cope and Cage, and he to the microphone, he was like, it's Cage and Cope, which I fucking got a kick out of. And then Christian, because one of the things that they said on the microphone, FTR that is that, or more in particular, Stokely Hathaway, he was like, if you put your hands on us, it's going to be $100,000 fine. If you put your hands on FTR, and it's a $500,000 fine if you put your hands on me. Christian was like, well, I'm rich, so I don't give a fuck. And they started to brawl and fight each other. And while they were fighting each other, you had FTR beat up the security guards. And it's like, dude, you guys brought the security. I don't know. I thought that was a little bit campy. I didn't really like that all too much. Like, if Edge and Christian is beating up the security guards, that makes sense. But like, you guys are the ones that brought the tag team. You know, the security guards out there. You're doing tag team moves on them and everything. I don't know. I thought that was a little bit campy. Didn't like that part all too much. But I don't know what happened. Dax Harwood. That's his fucking name. That's fucking Dash Wilder's name. Dax Harwood. He ended up getting busted open hard way. I don't know what the fuck happened, but like, maybe it was a punch by Edge that caught him in the nose the wrong way or something, or maybe something happened with the security guards, but he started to bleed profusely out of the nose, so hopefully he doesn't have a broken nose going into this match. That fucking sucks. And like I said, this was probably the best thing that's happened on the show. I fucking love this segment, all the history and knowledge that they were going down. It was a solid fucking segment, and it actually got me kind of hyped up and want to see their tag team match. Now, I will say it is kind of weird because, like, you know, one of the things that I think it was Dax that said this. He was like, you guys were carried by the Dudley Boys and Hardy Boys and the relevancy. We didn't have to do a damn thing but, you know, use our name to carry us. One thing I will say that always bugged me about Edge and Christian, they don't really have any tag team moves, do they? right? Like, you think of the Hardy Boys, you know, they got the poetry of motion at the very least. So obviously the Dudley Boys, they got multiple moves, the 3D as a finisher. Edge and Christian don't really have any tag team moves, right? I mean, you may say like the inverted poetry of motion where like they jump off each other's back into a stinger splash, or, you know, maybe like the reverse DDT sidewalk slam combo they occasionally did back then, but they really don't have any legitimate tag. Maybe like the wheelbarrow splash, but again, they don't really have legitimate tag team moves like the Hardys and the Dudleys or any other tag teams, which always rubbed me the wrong way about Edge and Christian. But hey, maybe they might bust out some of those moves that people might recognize. I don't know. We'll see. Coming up at All Out. So get 7 by these two. I loved everything about this. Brought back a bunch of memories listening to them talk. And we're going to continue on with the show because, again, I do not give a fuck about this tag team match. And, yeah, hopefully we get to see more out of that promise, you know, back and forth with Hangman and Kyle Fletcher. I don't know. Stay tuned. Ugh, fuck. I was afraid of this bullshit happening, bruh. I was afraid of this happening. Alright, so at least it's like 10:10 right now. We got like 50 minutes left, but we did not get the conclusion of the first 2 hours happening with what I wanted to see with Kyle Fletcher and Hangman Adam Page. I mean, it's not that I necessarily want to see it, but if they still are going to be doing something together, that's the main event of the pay-per-view. I'd be doing a disservice for my channel if I don't cover this shit appropriately, so I guess I'm watching all 3 hours of this bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, this women's match, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. You know you have a pay-per-view coming up Saturday, right? You have like, what, 2 matches that are like hardcore based with the coffin match, which you know they're going to do a bunch of fuckery with Moxley and Darby Allin, and you have this tables and tacks match with MJF and Mark Briscoe. You know you have shit coming up that's going to be hardcore based. Even that 8-woman no holds barred match that's going to take place on the pre-show at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. You know you have all this shit coming up. Why randomly throw a women's match out here where it's hardcore based? I just don't see. I don't get it. I don't get it. And it wasn't even entertaining at all. The girls were botching like fucking crazy, and that finish was flat as fuck. Like, I just don't get it, man. And it ended with this discombobulated clusterfuck with Tekla winning the match against Onomatopoeia or Alicia Fox, whoever the fuck she was. She won the match. Then she's like talking shit and calling out Toni Storm. And then Toni Storm comes out and they start brawling as if they have a personal issue. But Tony just cut this promo on the stage with all 3 of the girls there. I will give some leeway and say that the security guards were on stage, but it's like, I mean, it's a no disqualification match. You could have came out during that. Fuck, too much logic. It's wrestling. You have to unglue your mind sometimes when watching professional wrestling. But then also after the match, you had Jamie Hayter come into the ring, or she looked like she was coming into the ring. I don't know why she didn't get into the ring initially to start fighting the other girls, which again would be stupid because security guards weren't on the stage when Jamie Hayter came out to antagonize Toni Storm. And then Chris Statlander came out and then pulled her leg underneath her leg. Yeah, that's a Owen Hart reference for you boys. And then they started brawling, but again, they could have brawled on stage. Why now? And then you had the Dick Riders come out because they have the story with trying to recruit Chris Statlander, as if I give a fuck. And then Chris just leaves the arena while the other 3 girls are still going at it. And by going at it, I mean Tekla and Sky Blue and Julia Hart, they're jumping somewhat Toni Storm. I mean, some of the softest hits I've ever fucking seen. Tekla's not, she's like getting involved at one point, then she started selling out of nowhere. Again, this shit was all over the fucking place. And then eventually Tekla was pulled out of the ring, and then Jamie Hayter looks like she's gonna hit Toni Storm from behind. Toni turns around, and she didn't do anything to her. She just stared at her, and the announcers are trying to sell her like, oh, Jamie Hayter wants her at her best, 100% best. But, I mean, then why didn't you help her when she was getting jumped if you wanted her at her 100%? But again, this shit was so fucking, what a clusterfuck. What a terrible fucking match, and what a terrible fucking segment. All for nothing. This was all for fucking nothing, man. I can't stress this enough. This is the kind of shit that I hate about AEW. You're putting a hat on top of a fucking hat, bro. You got a pay-per-view show coming up with like multiple hardcore matches that are going to be on there. Why do this with this match just for it to end in the manner that it ended? And it was terrible to begin with. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's dumb. I would at least expect them to have a clusterfuck with some of the women who are going to be on the side of Alicia Fox, but not even those women showed up, and they cut a video package earlier on in the night. I'm thinking way too deep into this just for a women's match, and then we got 3 tag team matches coming up also for qualifying spots in the ladder match. Again, this whole show in this third hour just feels incredibly fucking forced. Like I said, if we can get some revelations coming out of the stuff with what's his name, Heyman and Fletcher, I guess this will make it worth it. They better fucking deliver in that last segment. If it's gonna be the last segment, they better fucking deliver, because this shit, 3 hours Dynamite, fucking just skibbity me, fucking skibbity me. All right, while the women are wrestling, because I'm so done. I'm so done. I will say, though, I did really dig this sit-down interview with Darby Allin and Bryan Danielson. But, man, there's way too little good to have to sit through this. Is that Rihanna? Holy shit, that Robin, what's her name? Robin Renegade or whatever her fucking name is? Whatever her fucking name is. That girl looks like a thick version of Rihanna. Holy fuck, she's good looking. Holy shit. Nevertheless, though, yeah, I can, outside of looking at this fucking girl, holy fuck, where's the lotion, boys? Where's the lotion? Gooning! Sorry. No, focus, Devontae. Focus. No gooning, okay? You can goon later. Nevertheless, though, yeah, this sit-down interview with Darby Allin and Bryan Danielson, man, this was fantastic. It almost makes me say to myself that it's like, damn, bro, I want to look forward to the Darby Allin and Jon Moxley match, because it's like, I know they're going to tell a decent story. My problem with that match, though, is that I feel like they're going to focus more on spots, stupid fucking jackass-oriented spots, than they are the storytelling that really could be top-notch for this match. You know, you had Darby talking to Bryan, and it's like, it wasn't even so much of an interview as much as it was just two friends concerned about each other, right? Which is a different element when you see these sit-down interviews, because they're so detached from the actual person who's talking to them, right? Even Austin and JR kept it, I don't want to say professional, because maybe that's not the right word, but that's the only word I can think of right now. They kept it professional enough to keep their actual relationship separate from the story that was taking place, right, in kayfabe, obviously. But Danielson obviously being taken out by the Dick Riders, and Darby having this on his head for over a year, you know, that's the motivation that keeps him grounded, keeps him focused to want to complete the task at hand, which is taking out Jon Moxley. And he made it known to Bryan Danielson, all the stuff that he did when going up Mount Everest and planting the AEW flag, that was all just for him, because he felt like everybody in the wrestling business being such snakes and giving their word, he wanted to be able to do something on his own and give his word to himself, because he can't trust anyone to give their word to him. And he just, I don't know, he just did it simply because he feels like he's the only person that he can trust. And this is all just the play to get his hands on Moxley for not only what he did to AEW, but putting him in a position where he feels useless. Not Yuta useless, but useless. Actually useless. Well, Yuta's useless also, but you get what I'm saying, though. He put himself in that position to mask the fact that he was vulnerable, not being able to help Bryan Danielson. And now he has the opportunity. Now he has the chance to go out there and redeem himself. And he made Bryan Danielson promise him that he wasn't going to get involved in the match. And Bryan Danielson gave him his word he wouldn't get involved in the match. And he ended up whispering something in his ear. It was probably something super gay. But I'm pretty sure whatever it is, I'm almost certain it's going to be... That's what I'm saying, man. Like, the elements around the story, it's a lot of good storytelling elements that I feel is going to play a strong factor and enhancing the match. It's just, damn, if you can, look, I know it's going to be stupidity in the match. I'm going to try my best to go into the match when reviewing it to be as open-minded as possible. I'm going to try my best not to focus so hard on the deathmatch aspect of all the fuckery that's going to happen in this match, and try to focus strategically on the core aspect of it, which is what is the story they're going to tell in this match. Now, they don't go too fucking crazy, and they can just use the craziness surrounding them in order to emphasize the story. Maybe, just maybe, I can go into this and leave this match with a clear mind and say to myself, okay, I can respect what they are trying to do, and I like this match. Because like I said, it has all the tools to deliver in that manner. Just don't use the deathmatch stuff as a way to overcompensate for what could honestly be a very, very, very solid storytelling match. But obviously, we have to get there to see what they're going to do. In the meantime, though, solid segment. And if for anything else, it gets my hopes up that that's going to be exactly what they're going to do going into that match. Good job, telling that story, at least here. But like I said, only one way to find out, and that's to actually see the match for itself. So we'll get there when we get there. And all this other shit for the rest of the night, I really don't give a fuck about. So I'll come back at the end of the night or at the end of the show to talk about what happened with Fletcher and Adam Page. Hopefully they do this in the middle of the show so I can cut this shit off earlier. Because, again, all this other shit is completely pointless. Again, they had like two really, 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 really good stuff being the segments, and everything else was just absolute dog shit. But like I said, we'll get there when we get there with Fletcher, okay? We'll get there when we get there with Hangman. That's it. That was the big climax of this whole entire 3 hours. That was the beatdown. I was expecting, like, Kyle Fletcher to pound his ass. Pause. No diddy. I was expecting him to make him bleed. I was expecting him to destroy this man, and that's it. So first off, your main event was a tag team match. After 3 hours of this bullshit, your main event was a tag team match. And I'll give credit where credit is due. I like the finish. That Hechicero guy, that fucking head scissors leg guillotine move, that shit was dope. I like the finish. But still, that's not enough to make up for the fact that this was your finish. Not the finish to the match, but the finish to the entire show. And you know the part that frustrates me the most? It's like, you could have made this work. I wouldn't have even been opposed to this if you would have spent the entire show building up to this point. See, that's the problem with AEW. Again, I say this every damn week. They're so focused on the matches. Dude, that shit can pay off on the pay-per-view. That's the whole point. Is that all this shit pays off at the pay-per-view. You're spending money to get these matches to give you the appropriate conclusion. It's a whole package deal that we're expecting when we get to the pay-per-view. That's the payoff. But you have to do a couple of things to build up to get me to want to watch the match, to see a match of that caliber. See, that's the part that I don't get from AEW, man. I don't understand. I don't get it. When every match is interchangeable as far as what's considered 5 stars, especially nowadays, which, again, I say this all the time, this is the best time period in wrestling history when it comes to in-ring action. The worst match today, without any botches, is probably the best match about 25 years ago and going back. Credit where credit is due when it comes to that, but like I said, you can't even discern which one is which nowadays because they're all the exact same way. So all you really have as far as differentiating yourselves is explicitly how good of an angle or how good of a story is taking place in front of your eyes. That's the main thing that differentiates everything from another story or another angle and gives emphasis to the match that you're actually doing. But they don't get this. I feel like nobody in wrestling gets this nowadays. Nobody in wrestling gets this, man. You could have played this out throughout the entire night. This could have been your perfect way to get Kyle Fletcher over. It doesn't take a lot to get people over nowadays. put them into a spot, tell a decent story, make one a protagonist, make one an antagonist, and give people a reason to want to get behind the protagonist. It's so easy. It really is easy. And all you have to do is play it throughout the night for like 4 weeks. That's it. That's it. It doesn't matter what angle you do. As long as it's a decent story being played out for the next couple of weeks, it doesn't matter what you do. And yet time and time again, you get these boring ass stories, if there's even a story at all. You have to piece together week after week after week in order to tell a cohesive story that about 20 years ago they would have told in one night. Right? Am I right or am I wrong when I say this? Is this not appropriate criticism to give to the product of wrestling nowadays? Like, you play it out with the contract signing in the beginning of the night, which honestly could have been the end of the night. You could have been telling the story of Kyle Fletcher. See, that's the part that kills. You don't even have to do any strong angles. You could have put emphasis on Kyle Fletcher and told his story throughout the night as far as how he got to this point. Throughout the entire night, snippets of his entire career playing out, building up to this moment right here. Giving Hangman Adam Page some things backstage to maybe, I don't know, reflect off of his own character while you're building up Kyle Fletcher, and then you inevitably give us this contract signing, and then it ends with how you ended it tonight with him going through a table in that way. You could have done all that, but you had to save time because you had to give time to pointless fucking matches that no one gives a shit about. No one. I'm not counting the sickos. They're there for the long haul no matter what you put on television. And the end product, it's this. And it's always this. And you wonder why people tune out of your shows as it starts to tick down and go from quarter 1 all the way down to quarter 7 or 8. That's why people tune you the fuck out. That's why you end up having 800,000 or 700,000 fans in the beginning of the night, and then you fall all the way down to like 300,000 or 200,000, and then you average it in, and you end up getting 500,000 or 600,000 views that night because people aren't being captivated. People aren't staying for the long haul to see what you're going to produce in the end of the night. Story will always triumph over star power because story is what creates star power. And they don't get it. They don't get it. They really think that title is like some type of babysitter that is going to hold you over, and that the title in itself is enough to justify why you book in this way. Because it's the World Championship, and therefore the World Championship automatically already has a certain prestige about it that gives it so much leeway where you have to accept all the bullshit that comes along with it. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. You gave us a boring tag match in the main event. You used that to circumvent to get to this bullshit angle. And it was a payoff for something that we did not see throughout the night. People keep saying Hangman's the main character. Main character of what? Main character of what? I see one character and I see a bunch of side people, but it seems like the side characters are equally getting time compared to the main character. So who's the main character? No one. They're all just characters. I don't care to want to go into the pay-per-view now. That's the kind of shit that kills all the momentum in the world to get people to want to tune into your pay-per-view show. You're expecting me to pay money for this. $40 to $50 to pay for this. It is what it is, man. Another disappointing night of Dynamite. Just a longer version, I guess. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below as far as how you felt about the show if you ended up watching it. As always, my name is Devontae, aka Millennial Smart. I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces. P. Ice.